All right, so there is fallout over the Jeffrey Epstein files to talk about. President Trump says the whole thing is a hoax. His own supporters are some of the loudest voices in the room asking the files be released, and for that, President Trump is slamming those supporters. So a Justice Department review of the case found Epstein did not have a client list, even though in February, President Trump's own attorney general, who we just saw, they're getting off board that boat in the San Francisco Bay to go to Alcatraz. Pam Bondi said that the client list was on her desk. Well, she now walks that back, saying she was referring to the case files and not the list. Here's how the president pushed back when asked about that controversy.
I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
Stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans, the words of the President of the United States against those who supported him getting into the Oval Office. Meanwhile, Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence added another prominent voice to the call to just release the files. Here's what he said on The Takeout with Major Garrett last night.
I think the time has come for the administration to release all of the files regarding Jeffrey Epstein's investigation and prosecution. It's important that we protect the names of the victims. They should be excluded from any disclosure. But whether or not the facts justify charges, I think that anyone who participated or was associated with this despicable man ought to be held up to public scrutiny.
That from the former president of the United States. You can watch more of Major's conversation with Mike Pence on the Takeout's YouTube channel, and you can also stream the Takeout with Major Garrett Monday through Friday at 5 Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi spoke to voters in Pennsylvania on what they would like to see happen with these files. Here's what they had to say.
Do you think Trump's on that list?
Absolutely, without a doubt. So many pictures of him with Epstein that I don't have a doubt that he's on that list.
Do you think he could release it if he wanted to?
Absolutely. Somebody still has that list. It's still there someplace.
But at the same time, we put you in office. You ran on this platform. You offered it. We didn't ask for it. And now we want it. We demand it. You know, I mean, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be justice.
So let's talk to Olivia Rinaldi, joining us now from the White House. Olivia, we're hearing that same message from the former vice president, the voters that you spoke to, but still President Trump is sticking to his guns. He calls this a hoax, even ginned up by Democrats.
Yeah, Reed, the voters are upset. The people I talked to in Pennsylvania yesterday said that they voted for Trump and they want the list. You heard there Mr. Taylor, one of the voters that I spoke with in eastern Pennsylvania, saying, look, we didn't ask for this. You brought it up and now we demand to see the list. We want to see it. Trump in a Truth Social post yesterday likened these supporters who are asking for the list to past supporters. That's what he's calling them, saying that they have bought into this BS hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson, saying that the only reason why this Epstein conversation is happening is to, disregard what's happening in the Trump administration and all of his successes right now. So this is the first time we've really seen the president rebuke his supporters, Reed. I have never seen the president talk about his supporters like this, referring them to past supporters and asking them to look past everything with Epstein. So quite notable there, the schism that we are seeing in the MAGA base right now.
Expletives and adjectives there in his social media post would indicate that the president is hot under the collar over this issue, and I would agree with you. We don't usually see him turn on his voter base this much over something like this. There are also deep divisions within the GOP in how the DOJ has handled the Epstein case. Does the president risk losing people like the man that you talked to sitting on his porch in Pennsylvania if this gets bigger?
It's a good question. It is, because Trump has this base that is just glued to him, magnetized to him. Even yesterday, the event that I went to was Vice President Vance talking about the economy at noon on a Wednesday, and there were people lining up down the street just to see him. because he's associated with this administration and President Trump. It will take a lot for Trump supporters and Trump faithful to be separated from this administration and their support of Trump. Mr. Taylor, that I spoke with, said two things have bothered him about this administration, an administration that he voted for in 2024. And those two things, Reed, are Marines on the streets during the LA protests and the Epstein list, so much so that he had a big sign out front of his house that said, "Where is the list?" And all of his neighbors had Make America Great Again signs and Vance 2028 signs. And he was the one that had a sign about the Epstein list. So it's something that will continue to be an undercurrent, but whether or not this peels away support from President Trump and his administration and future support, we'll have to wait and see.
Epstein, one of our nation's most notorious sexual predators, dead now, and his photo burned into the memory of so many of those voters next to none other than the President of the United States. Those questions will likely continue for sure. We want to put that on the table and talk about something else, and that is the question of whether the president will fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. We know Powell is on thin ice. The president has said it's highly unlikely. But also, he, in the same breath almost, talked about Jerome Powell's choices relative to the renovations of the building that holds Powell's office. We know that the president cannot fire Powell unless there is cause. But I said this yesterday, even the smallest critic of the president would say that this appears a little bit to be table setting to get rid of Jerome Powell.
Well, it's certainly notable timing, right, Reed? The president has been asking for that rate cut, saying that there is enough economic data that the Federal Reserve should cut interest rates. That's something that the president hopes would boost the economy a little bit more. We have seen an effort by members of this administration to highlight that $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve here in Washington, D.C., saying it amounts to a waste of money, a fraudulent use of money. There were also questions about a congressional inquiry into Powell and whether or not he lied in front of Congress when he testified. So there's all these prongs, all these questions that this administration is posing to Congress, kind of making their case in the public sphere of why are we spending this money to renovate the Federal Reserve and why are we spending so much to do it? So kind of table setting there about a potential removal of Powell. But we should note our Jennifer Jacobs, Caitlin Huberns, and Ellis King yesterday had some pretty incredible reporting that the president had shopped out this idea of removing Chairman Powell from his position to some House Republicans and asked them what they think about it. And those House Republicans, Trump said they were on board with it. So Trump confirming our own CBS News reporting, our exclusive reporting first. But, you know, it's still something that legally is questionable whether or not the president can do it. In fact, Supreme Court says he can't do it. But also, Chairman Powell has about 8 months left on his term, a term that President Trump appointed him to back in 2017. So the time is already dwindling for Powell. It's just whether or not this president wants to hold out for that.
Olivia Rinaldi at the White House, thank you so much.